Maybe not what you said. Go around.
He graduated in like late 90s. Where did you do? He's working
going the other way.
I have so much power.
Here,
miedo, bajo y balas.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today for the last in the season of Fringe casts. We're all very warm and humid. Edinburgh is incredibly humid, but thank you for joining us this morning from wherever in the world you may be. This session is all about there being 1 week to go, he says while laughing. And the team have decanted down from Fringe Central back to our base to talk to you this morning. So I guess first thing, we should all say hello. So if we can cut to webcam, Daniel.
There we go. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. So my name's Alan. I'm the registration manager here at the Fringe Society, which basically means I manage the process of shows registering with us and then look after events such as this.
My name is Katie. I'm the Artist Development Manager at the Fringe Society, which means that I help advise and guide artists on their professional and creative development at the Fringe and beyond.
Oh, that was great.
Amy was just in a trance, just watching Katie.
Thanks,
Elevator
Amy.
pitch.
My tea voice.
Hi, my name's Amy. I'm the Media and Marketing Advisor. My role is to help participants with marketing their show and contacting the media.
And finally,
Daniel.
I'm Daniel. I'm the digital marketing coordinator here at the Fringe Society, which means I look after our social media, email marketing, various other digital marketing things, including the technical aspect of these Fringe casts. So if you are watching live and the sound stops or the video stops,
It's his fault.
it's my fault. Do let us know. Although last time I said that, it did break. And it was a very warm day as well. So I'm feeling good about this.
And the 2 times it's broken, it's actually never been your fault.
That's what I said.
He gives us a lot of technical jargon every time something breaks, and last time it was the weather, so we'll see.
I mean, lightning may strike twice. Okay.
Don't, there's genuinely thunderstorms outside.
Let's turn off the webcam and we can then slouch
thank
back.
you.
Good morning, Jill, who said morning in the live chat.
Morning.
Morning, Jill.
hi,
Thank you for
Jill.
joining us.
It's early. It feels so early. It's only 10.
We're such art
This
workers.
is
We're
6
like,
o'clock.
oh, it's so early.
It's not as early as the time we did the Adelaide Fringe cast, and we had to get up at 4.
Yeah,
so.
anyone who joined us for that was not a pretty picture.
No.
Daniel, for first-time listeners, which, wow, joining us on the last one, I'm impressed. You should definitely check back some of our other ones. They're all there.
Play them all back in reverse. So
How does this work,
There's
Daniel?
some people watching live. There's some people, lots and lots of people tend to catch up with these later, but we do these live in case people throw questions at us. And the way you can do that if you are live, as you should hopefully know by now, is through live chat. It's in the top right-hand corner on desktop and under the live chat button on a mobile device. All that live chat is recorded as we go, so if you're watching this back, messages will just start appearing as and when they were sent or shared when we were talking. And that will also include links to resources that these guys may start talking about. If Katie talks about an event at Fringe Central, for example, I'll frantically...
How did you know?
She never does that.
I will frantically search for the URL.
Oh, you have it
and
bookmarked. Come on.
There's 26 tabs open, ready for the various things these guys are going to share. So I'll put them in the live chat so don't feel the need to rush and copy down a URL that we're reading out. It's all going to be in the live chat. It's all going to be saved. And that's it. Last episode of the season.
Great.
If people want to get in touch after if they're watching it not live, how do they get in touch? Which email address are we advising people to get in touch with us
I
on?
feel bad because none of us are at the end of it, but let's say participants at edfringe.com is probably the best.
Yeah, at this stage, just to make sure it gets sent to the right person who
Great.
can help. But most importantly, we're recording this with just over a week to go. I imagine most of you will be listening to this closer to the start of the Fringe, and as of next week, you can come meet us if you're in Edinburgh.
True.
That's probably the easiest way for a lot of these various queries you may have.
Great. So let's get started. I guess the first thing we want to establish is it's that time of year where you suddenly, especially if you're doing the full run, you're going to be thinking about getting to Edinburgh, arriving, making sure you've done any sort of last minute checks. So this session today is very much, we're kind of each going to take a section, whether that's social media, whether it's content in the press, engaging the industry, can't remember what I talk about. Something important near the end.
It's when you arrive.
Yes.
Yeah,
the first
that kind
thing
of
to
thing.
do.
Yeah. True words of wisdom.
And it's worth mentioning that if you have listened back to, or you're planning to listen back to episode 13, the structure is really similar. We're just going to maybe pick out slightly different points, or if we get questions coming in, we can focus on them. So there will be a lot of crossover between the two. That's intentional. Just with 1 week to go, there are plenty of things that we may not have said last week, or people may not have asked last week, which we'll tackle today. And there's at the corner of my eye, another questions come in, which we didn't have last week, so we will get to that.
So just
It's a
to, again,
challenge.
further diversify from last week. So on the before you arrive slide, to get started, does everyone have like a quick like top tip of something that maybe you should focus on before you arrive? So any sort of last minute, like Daniel, you mentioned some that I don't want to steal your point.
You've never said that before. I'm not sure what to say.
I'm not prepared at all.
I'm not
I have
prepared.
something.
Okay, then I'm gonna steal.
Because I know the next section is me giving my top tip. So,
Oh, well, you mentioned a certain form that people should fill in.
oh yeah, sorry.
Am I still
It's
news
complete-
geek?
No, actually.
It says loads of technical things you sort of need to get in order before you come along. And this is a subject of which I'm not an expert, so I'm going to do my very best to talk about it. But it's completing your PRS PPL music declaration. This is all part of the registration process, so the chances are, if you're all prepared and listening to this, you've already done it. But it's worth double checking that. I can share a link about it,
And
while
there's
Alan
a-
talks more about it.
Yeah, there's a really good email address. It's just music@edfringe.com. Really simple. And they can talk you through any issues that you're having. But it's one of those things that it's really good to do before you're in the thick of
And
August.
every show, there is no exception to completing the declaration. Because if you haven't got music, you have to tell us you haven't got music.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we have to assume that you do.
Yeah. And that way charges lie. Whereas if you just fill it in, as it were, you escape those charges if you don't need to pay them.
Escape.
Escape.
I have not really I don't have any kind of technical things like that where you should definitely remember to do something, because I'll be talking about certain stuff in a while. But just a top tip, given Edinburgh's climate, pack a raincoat. Don't bring an umbrella because there's too many people and you will poke someone's eye out. Pack a raincoat and bring so many socks. Bring 3 times the amounts of socks that you think you need, because you won't get time to do that much laundry and your socks will get wet. So go stock up in Primark or wherever you can get bulk buy socks and bring
Other
lots.
shops.
Other cheap retailers are available.
And on that rain, we say it's all about layers. Like today in Edinburgh, it's incredibly warm for Edinburgh. It's maybe 25 degrees, but then there'll suddenly be a thunderstorm. It will suddenly become freezing.
Yeah.
And the ability to quickly change from one thing to another is really great. Also, if you're going to fringe venues, which are naturally quite warm.
So warm. Bring a fan. Oh my god! I have seen people bringing handheld
not
fans,
electric fans,
not an
that'd be quite-
electric
Full
fan.
drag
Don't have
fans. Yeah.
Where can I plug this in?
But yeah, just prepare for Edinburgh to be up to 30 degrees and then down to 5 in one day with thunderstorms, hail showers, and then splitting sunshine. So prepare for all climates.
I've been told we've seen snow during the Fringe. I still can't believe it, but a little flurry.
Well, maybe it was fake snow in a show. I feel like
And-
you never know.
Oh gosh, wow, what would I say? Well, I think before you arrive, take the time to do some research, if you haven't already, of things like the media contacts list, and see which press would suit your show. If you haven't contacted press, there is still time. Obviously, if you have, now's the time to follow up. Just get a lot of admin, that kind of thing done now, because once you arrive in Edinburgh, there's so much to see and do. You don't want to forget about these basic things. And also, what I'm doing is I'm doing meal prep several weeks in advance and batch making meals and freezing
Meal
them.
prep's a good one.
I
Meal
did that
prep.
before, and then I never got the chance to eat anything. So
Because you're
I
forgetting
had
to take it out the freezer.
Exactly.
Remember
I
to
just
take
had
out
a
the
freezer
freezer.
full of food for months after the Fringe.
It's a great
so
September, October.
It's great. You don't have
It's
to do anything.
on the research point. I don't know if this is worth saying, whether you guys agree, but taking a look at the program, not to look at, say, other shows in your area to network, but just to go see stuff.
Yeah,
Oh god,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely get out and see stuff. Don't stay in your own little stress bubble.
Go out and meet people, network.
Like start marking your favourites,
Yeah.
because that's generally that sounds like a big plug for like the website features and stuff. But
I'm not
actually-
complaining.
But actually, like you so quickly like forget. You see a show or you speak to someone on Twitter and you're like, oh, I want to see that show. And then a week goes by and you're something like, what was that show? Whereas actually being able to go through your favourites and you're like, oh, that's the one that I
And if we're talking plugs, if you download the Fringe app, that will have all the shows on it. What's particularly handy about that is if you don't have an internet connection, they're still on there. You can still favourite something, and then it syncs later. Because if you're in a dark basement venue where there isn't Wi-Fi or whatever, it will still back it up.
Cool. And also the Nearby Now feature on the app is really cool. Yeah. And again, none of this is scripted or plugging in any way, but whenever my parents come over, they kind of just mooch around the city and they always just find things nearby them, because it's really good to leave gaps in your schedule and don't like completely overschedule your day with shows, and just actually get the chance to explore and find things that are near you.
Totally. I'd say my tip, which makes it counterintuitive, is almost like, so I think I absolutely agree with Amy's point about get your admin done, like be up to date with everything, but also like take a break from like stressing about all of the practicalities of producing a show, and actually just let yourself enjoy the final week of getting the show ready.
Allow yourself to relax.
Like and time. Really like enjoy those last rehearsals, which obviously are always a little bit stressful, and you kind of decide that you hate your show and then you love it again. But actually just have a time to take that pressure off and just kind of, as a group, really come back together and be like, I always say, right, remember why you love and why you create the show, because that will be tested. That sounds a bit different, but like your love for your show will be tested when you do it again and again and again. So actually remembering why it is you're doing it and just coming together, I think is a really nice kind of moment.
Yeah, it must be really exciting to be coming to the Fringe. I mean, we don't get that sense because we're here all year round and working on the Fringe all year round. But imagine...
I don't know if you know, Katie, but I had a show.
Oh my God.
Oh, really? You've never mentioned this before, Alan, ever.
Okay, let's move on.
Sorry, I laughed into the mic. Great. Daniel, it's up to you. Marketing and social media.
The quick introductory guide. We covered some of this last week, but I'll recap some of it and introduce some new things. So I'm going to start with social media because I'm biased because it's my favourite thing. If you haven't got stuck into it yet, if you haven't created accounts, or if you have them but you haven't done much with them, at this stage of the game, just focus your efforts. Don't feel the pressure to do everything in all the places. Just find the channel that you feel comfortable with. All social media channels are equal, but for the purpose of the Fringe, the strongest two in our experience and from our other artists' opinions that shared with us is Twitter and Instagram are the best channels to work with if you're looking to get more people to discover you. The reason being that on the whole, if your Instagram and your Twitter isn't private and locked down, anyone can discover what you're sharing. If you're using the right hashtags, if you're just sharing stuff that you're at the Fringe, there's a possibility that an audience member or a member of the media or the industry could stumble across what you're sharing, and that would then inspire them to come and see you. I was saying hashtags, the ones we popped up on screen, hashtag EdFringe and hashtag MakeYourFringe are the best ones to go to. They're the most well used. We do often see out and about lots of permutations of hashtag EdFringe.
I thought you really liked hashtag Edinburgh Fringe 2019, Daniel.
I mean, it's the perfect hashtag to just tap out on your phone while on the go. So EdFringe is quick, short and simple. This year is a huge focus on Make Your Fringe, and I'll explain why in a sec. But loads of people do like EdFringe 19, EdFringe 2019.
Don't do that.
You don't need to do that because everyone knows what year it is, hopefully. I mean, you never know. It makes more sense if it's all on the same hashtag. You can look back into previous years, see all the conversations on hashtag EdFringe. Selfishly, do follow us on by going to @EdFringe on all the major platforms. We are there, just sharing stuff about the Fringe. And again, if you're sharing that, obviously that makes me happy, but it also just makes people aware that you're coming to the Fringe, you're part of it. People will see that you're sharing that content. So if we do a post and 20 people retweet it, I can only dream, and you're one of those, the odds of someone seeing your account are increased. It's all beneficial. I'm not just saying this as a plug. It does help increase your visibility.
My favourite hashtag, can you guess it?
Yes, I can.
Dogs of the Fringe?
Dogs at the Fringe. Yeah. Use that one. I will always retweet that.
Dogs at the Fringe.
Yeah. I said at. Alan, you need to get your hashtag.
Oh, did I say of?
Yeah.
Which started a couple of years ago, and it started trending, became an official moment. Because even though you can't take a dog into most venues and shows,
Some you can.
out and about, there's just so many dogs.
And there's so many outdoor bars and stuff that pop up during the Fringe that allow dogs in. So
And
it's
if
a
you
really
don't
wonderful
have
time.
a dog, check out Pets on Programs.
Pets with
with
programs.
programs.
I got that one
Those
right.
hashtags are a minefield.
I know. You got to get those, what are those middle words called? Alan, you're program king.
Because other animals are available.
Those what?
Like on, at, there, then. Oh. Anyway.
Oh, small words.
Oh, like proofing.
Is that the official term?
So when you're sharing on social media, using these tags helps your content reach more people, and specifically people that are coming to the Fringe, which is what you really want. I said I'd explain Make Your Fringe. If you've come to the Fringe before, you may realise that every year we create sort of a unique identity and a unique strapline for the Fringe. So last year it was Into the Unknown, and that's really exciting and people got on board with it. But we got a lot of feedback that people love these campaigns, but once they get a lot of momentum and people get really excited, and then we kind of have to park them and say, well, that's done. We put that on a shelf. We're not going to use that again. So what we're now doing, we've created Make Your Fringe for 2019, and we're going to use this again in future years. So it's not just a one-hit wonder. It's coming back for multiple years. And the idea behind it is twofold. The first thing is that the Fringe, unlike most other festivals, is uncurated. It's open access. Anyone can bring a show. It means there are thousands of shows, which means it's up to the person coming to the Fringe to choose what they go and see. They, in effect, make their Fringe. No two Fringe experiences are the same. But the second reason, the one that I think is most useful for artists, is the idea of recommendation. We know that like word of mouth is the easiest way, most common way people discover shows. And the idea is that if you're a Fringe goer or a reviewer or anyone, you say doing this or going to see this will make your Fringe.
Okay, nice. So it can be used with verbs and with other small words. Alan?
Excellent.
You can
In
tell
the
it's
next year's
you can tell
programme
it's
team.
early. We can't even manage words.
No.
So that's Make Your Fringe, and you can put it into the sentence. It flows better. It means people are more likely to see it, and that's great. I have two other points. They're fairly self-explanatory, but if you have the ability to do so at the end of your show, tell people to tell other people. Word of mouth is really important.
Absolutely.
They may tell people face to face, but not even better. They're equally valuable. Get them to share about it.
Yeah,
I also think.
it's-
Oh, you go.
No, go ahead.
Like the bucket speech, as it were, like after the
yes,
show.
exactly.
It used to be so much associated with free shows, I think, because that's where they ask for the donations for the show.
Yeah.
But I think more recent years, it's kind of just gone across the board because everyone's like, if you like this, please do share it on. So even some of the like established year-round spaces, I've seen a show finish and them being like, this is where you can catch us on social media. If you've liked it, tell a friend.
Yeah.
And actually, it's such a valuable... And I realize it can be hard if you've created a certain atmosphere at the end
Right.
of your show. It's then hard to break out and be like, so, Twitter. But I do think it's
But
really
even
important.
if I don't know that you're set up, but if you can't do it on stage, if you can get to if you can do it
meet
like
people at
exit
the
firing
exit
or
door,
similar.
yeah.
It's
I
such
think on that, is the audience reviews as well. We always
Totally.
kind of plug these in that kind of, not relying on what Amy will talk about in a while with professional reviews, because
Media reviews.
Okay, media reviews.
yes.
And getting those can be quite tricky, but if you're standing up at the end of the show, like Alan said, with your kind of essentially a bucket speech, but talking about like getting people to plug you on social media, and if they also leave an audience review on your Ed Fringe listing, which is the first thing that comes up in your review section at the bottom of your listing before you see the media reviews, they can be excellent. It's kind of, in the culture that we have now where people take recommendations from their peers rather than from professionals, like, on TripAdvisor and Yelp and all those. They can be the biggest seller of your show, much more than often media reviews.
I also have a top tip for audience reviews. If you're encouraging people to do them, they're fairly, if you think of the Fringe landscape, they're a fairly new thing. So a lot of people are starting to know about them. But it's just, rather than being like, could you leave us an audience review, giving an extra line of like, oh, you just need to log in as if you were buying a ticket, head to our show and leave a review. Because some people, if they're not logged in, they can't do it. And then they are like, oh, I can't do it. So they go away and go and see something else.
While we're on reviews, I thought we'd share it now. If someone writes a review and you don't like it because they don't like your show, that's reviewing. But if someone writes something that is, there's various criteria, if it is just factually inaccurate, it contains a critical spoiler, or it contains hate speech, we do have a sort of moderation policy, which you can see on the comments, on the review section. But we just wanted to flag that we don't remove reviews that are simply negative, because that's
That's just
That's the nature of
Reviews are
criticism.
like luck. They're either good or bad.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Someone once asked me to take down a review just because it was 3 stars, and I was like,
That's
"Mate,
good.
3 stars is good."
Yeah. There'll be
But
a
we'll-
great quote in there.
But we'll come to media.
Yeah, sorry.
We'll come to media reviews in a sec.
Back in your box.
I've got one final
Dan
point.
was like, "I need to talk about the inspiration machine."
I mean, that's 20 minutes alone. So if you haven't seen it or heard of it already, for 2019, as part of Make Your Fringe, one thing we've created is the inspiration machine. And the idea behind this is that often when people are coming to the Fringe, they can be overwhelmed by the sheer range of choice when they're trying to make their Fringe. They don't know where to start. So we've made a literal physical machine that people can walk up to in August in Edinburgh, hit a button, and it will randomly show them 3 different shows at this year's Fringe that they can go and see. Because we at the Fringe Society are impartial, we can never recommend shows, but we finally built a robot that can do it.
Has anyone actually seen this machine yet?
I like to think it's a cardboard box with Daniel
I don't think
inside
it
with the
exists.
app.
Daniel
we
just
can
shouted.
build it. We have the technology.
I am that robot, Danielle.
I'm very impartial.
Just your list of favourite shows.
So it's
doesn't
very.
have
I've
favourites.
seen it. It's very nearly finished. It's currently in a secret location. It's
Is
not.
it in your bedroom, Daniel?
It's not in Edinburgh
Okay.
at present.
Okay.
But it's not just a physical machine. That'd be great, but there'd be huge queues. So we also have an online version, which we've. It's available. We haven't made a big shout about it yet. We're going to do that next week as we build up to the Fringe. But as a Fringe cast exclusive, I'm just going to drop the link to it in the live chat.
Even
You haven't even seen it.
This is exciting.
Actually,
And ironically, by putting it in the live chat, you now can't see it until we're finished.
Great.
So the inspiration machine, I'll share. But how it works once you try it is that you, as a Fringe artist, have the ability to upload a 10-second pitch for your show. The idea behind this is to make a video that makes someone want to come to your show. You don't need to say when it is or where it is or anything like that. You've just got 10 seconds to inspire them and to convince them to come see you. And the way the machine works is it is completely random. However, if you've uploaded a video, your show is more likely to come out because that is more engaging for the user.
Okay.
So we've already received.
I'm going to play with this evening.
We've
I'm
received,
going to play in it.
Exciting.
Yeah.
we've received hundreds, if not thousands, I can't remember, lots of submissions.
many,
But if you haven't done it already, it's completely free. You head to the website that I'm about to type in. It's uploader.edfringe.com. It's best done just using your phone. So you go to the website, you hold up your camera on your phone, record it, it's done. Once you do that, members of the team are going to subtitle it, brand it all up, and then when that's all ready, we're going to send it back to you so you can then use it on social media.
Amazing.
The
That's
thing
so cool.
to flag is because it doesn't contain your show information, that bit's up to you when you're writing your tweet or your Instagram post. But it's not in the 10 seconds because many show titles take longer than 10 seconds to read.
And then if we put it in the inspiration machine, do we sort the details of the show? Like where it is, when it is,
Yeah,
what
you
it
get
is?
It's all sorted.
Yeah,
It's
you get
all-
like a listing information under
Right. Okay.
I played with it the other day and it is very addictive.
Nice.
When you go to it, you just select your show from the drop down, you put in your details, and then it all
okay.
connects. And the machine is quite intelligent, so
Terrifying.
it will suggest shows. It's just me in a box. It will suggest
Daniel,
shows.
I'm quite intelligent.
It will suggest shows people can practically go see.
That's cool.
So if it's stuff happening, if stuff happening next 12 hours, it's more likely to come out.
Right, yeah.
But if you go online, you can still get a show that's only taking place on the last Monday of the Fringe because there's still a chance you can go see it. If the show's finished being shown, it won't be in there because we don't want to disappoint people.
Great.
I've got to type and I can't type.
We're not in the business of debate. Should we move
to
on?
I think
the
that's it.
media?
Any questions about this side of things? Although your main go-to email address is participants@edfringe.com, it's related to marketing. No prizes for guessing. It's marketing@edfringe.com, and we can help.
God, original. The marketing team really come up with a great catchphrase and plug.
Amy, we're letting you out of your box.
Hooray! Daniel, get back in yours.
In his inspiration machine box.
We've all, the humidity has gone for all of us today.
There was a thunderstorm in Edinburgh last night, and we all were awake at about 4 a.m, not able to sleep because of it. So
Yes, we're very, very
apologise.
sorry.
We
Yes.
apologise for the insanity.
Cool, which was over a week ago, contacting the media. A lot of people come to me and ask about that. It's not too late. I prefer, obviously, that you contact them a bit earlier, but hey, life doesn't always work out that way, so why not? The number one thing to remember is when people are contacting the media, there are people that feel that they have to be quite salesy and have lots of hyperbole, or I'm trying to say hyperbole. There we go.
Hyperbole.
I'm so tired, sorry. And they feel, this is sure to be the hit of the Fringe. Blah, 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 blah. You don't need to say that. I just want to know what your story is. I want to know who you are, what your show is. So I always say, remember, it's a story pitch. You're telling somebody about your story. You're not telling somebody to buy tickets. So it's very different from marketing your show. It's a very different way of writing. And to go on from that, it's also important to remember that journalists are people. They don't want to be sold stuff. They want to be told a story, and journalists thrive on stories. So the relationship between you and a journalist you contact is only ever going to be reciprocal, because the journalist wants content and you need coverage, so you can work together on that. So I find if you approach it in that way, it kind of takes some of the, demystifies it a little bit.
Yeah, rather than going in with a kind of like, oh, I'm entitled to something from you because
absolutely.
I'm doing something.
Because the Fringe is like the biggest arts festival in the world, and there are media that do cover it, but because it's the biggest arts festival in the world, there's lots of participants that go to the media asking for reviews, and it's very easy for your email to get overlooked for simple things like not putting Ed Fringe in the subject line, so the journalist goes, oh, that's not an Ed Fringe show, and doesn't look at it, or sending an email that's a bit rude and a bit entitled. The journalists go, okay, I don't really want to deal with that person. I think they'll be quite difficult. So that kind of thing. So don't lose sight of your story. Never forget why you're coming to the Fringe and who you are and what your show is. That's the number one question people ask. Tell me about your show.
Yes.
Can I throw? You said question.
Yeah.
We had a question from Laura, so I'll throw it to you now.
Oh, hello.
So they've asked, we have sent all our press releases out and only have one reviewer coming so far. Is there anything else we can do at this stage, or just sit and wait? Would we have heard by now?
Cool.
I would
sorry,
just
Alan.
say well done for getting that.
Yeah.
Like, hearing
For
back
getting
from
one.
one person definitely
And at
is.
this point in time. as
Yeah,
well.
loads of people don't. I mean, maybe this year thing, but
Yeah.
From my experience, loads of people don't actually tell you they're coming until they've booked a ticket.
Yeah, I always say the only guarantee you should take from journalists that they're coming is the ticket report saying that they've booked a press ticket. Because I found when I was reviewing shows that I wouldn't say if I was coming, I would just book a ticket, because the Fringe is a very fast changing environment, and life goes on during the Fringe, so people can get sick, people's parents can get sick and they have to stop reviewing. So I'd rather not say anything and then just turn it around and say, yes, I will definitely come see your show, and then never turn up, because that is heartbreaking, number one, and that would just destroy that participant's faith in the media completely.
It can also change the nature of a show.
Absolutely,
if you know
yeah.
that there's reviewers coming, the atmosphere can be completely different. The way that you're putting on the show, and the attitude and acting can be completely different, because you might be nervous, or you might try to do it in a different way because you know that there's a reviewer watching. And actually, I think it's a lot of the time better not to know that until the show is over and you've done your best show to your best audience that you always
and
do.
then you look at the ticket report.
Yeah.
I think that at this point in time, a lot of people get quite fixated on the idea of either getting a response or looking at the ticket report. Do neither. What you need to do is, if I don't know when you initially contacted the media, if it was a couple of weeks ago, you're absolutely entitled to follow up, especially if you're in the first week, say. Don't send the exact same press release again. Always remember to send a very personal email just saying, hey, we'd love you to come along because you've written about shows about this topic or new writing or something like that. And just write a very short press release and send that out again. We just try to keep on their radar. A lot of time, it's never personal if you don't get a response, or if somebody doesn't come to your show, which is a lot of time they don't have the time.
Yeah, I think it's about finding that new information, isn't it? As well. So
absolutely.
And we say new information, that doesn't have to be like, oh, we've had a cast change. It can be just like, we've just done a preview and got really great feedback from audiences, or we've got some brand new images, or do you know what, we're in Edinburgh now.
Or suddenly the news schedule has changed and
Totally.
you're doing a story about something incredibly relevant right now that wasn't incredibly relevant 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Absolutely do
My
that.
hot take, one of my things that I would say never to put in one of those kind of emails, and I don't know if it's the same for industry ones, Katie, is that I hate when someone says, I don't know if you got my email.
Yeah, we got your email.
Particularly if
Everyone
it's
got
like,
your email.
you sent it an hour ago.
Yeah.
But like that, it's just one of those things of like, do you know, it's 2019, people get emails.
And people know to look in their spam folder.
Yeah.
It's they've got it.
Yeah.
They've just, but they've got, I say, because as a journalist, Amy, you receive like hundreds, if not thousands,
Yeah.
of pictures.
Yeah.
So you've got it. It's just you've got to process
if
it.
I spent all the time I had responding to the emails I got during the Fringe, I would never see a show.
Oh yeah.
and then there'd be no point in me being at the Fringe. And what would I say? Like, thanks, received it, or like, yeah, I'll try and come if I can. People might not really read what I say, and they might take that I am coming when I'm saying I'll do my best to come along, and that kind of thing. So it's that's the reason I don't reply.
Yeah.
We've got a follow-up question
Oh, great, cool.
to that. First, she said thanks very much, and then she's asked, knowing that there's a reviewer coming, is it appropriate to speak to them, or should they remain anonymous?
Just treat them like any other member of the audience. I have been to shows where I was taken to the special reviewer seat. That made me feel incredibly awkward. And then somebody came and sat next to me and kind of were leaning in and trying to see what I was writing in my notebook. Or I've heard stories from other journalists where the PR insisted on coming with them to the show and sitting next to them and elbowing them at the funny bits to try and make them laugh and that kind of thing. Just treat them like any member of the audience. I saw an email from a PR the other day and they're saying, oh, we know we have a reviewer coming in on this date. Can I find out who it was because I want to greet them? No, just leave them alone. It's just incredibly awkward for all involved. When I was reviewing, I didn't wear my reviewer's pass going in. I wanted to completely pass for another human being, essentially.
As I think most people would.
Yeah.
You know, when you're working, you don't want to be identified as somebody to be interrupted.
Exactly. Or, there was times like I would leave a show and somebody would be like, oh, you're the reviewer. Oh, who are you writing for? Oh, when's the review coming out? Blah, blah, blah. And I'd just be like, please, can you just leave me alone? I just need to get out, please.
Something that I think is fine, though, I'd always have like some printed out copies of your press release.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to hand
stuff
that
like
out and say, this is for you.
And if someone is wearing their lanyard, they're like, and you pick up the vibe if someone like kind of wants to talk. But again, I would say very much it's not like when it'll come out. It's just like, oh great.
Would you recommend? Imagine you know for a fact that they've attended and you haven't interacted with them.
Yeah.
Would you ever recommend a follow-up email, in the sense of like, here's our pics.
Yeah,
thanks for coming.
So, thank you so much for coming. Here's our pictures.
Let us know if you need anything.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really helpful.
Good.
That's a good email to send. Also, if you haven't heard anything for a few days, that's normal because there's a lot of reviews going through editing systems and editors at that time. So a delay is expected.
Yeah, and think about the fact that this journalist is seeing multiple shows a day, then having to write up multiple reviews, then having to send them to their editors to go through multiple systems.
You're absolutely entitled to follow up if it's been a few days. What I would not recommend doing is what happened to a friend of mine was she saw a show, I think about 6 o'clock one evening, and by 9 a.m. she had an email from the company going, where's our review? Why is it not online yet?
This links back to, we haven't done this yet, like what we discussed in one of our many previous episodes, particular introduction to marketing, which I'll share in the live chat, which is working out the role of these different aspects in your show and how you shouldn't necessarily look at reviews as a marketing tool or means of getting people in. So imagine you get a reviewer coming in the last week and that review goes live after the end of the Fringe. That's still a great result.
Yeah.
You've just got to bear in mind.
You can still use that. You can use that for further shows. Say this show got this review.
You can use it for
Fringe,
funding
applications. Absolutely. I've had people being like, oh, I want to get press in and I want to get them in the first week because that will help my ticket sales. And it's like nothing is guaranteed. You don't know if the review's going to come out in the first week, and then
you don't know if the review's going to be good.
You don't know if the review's going to be good, and also you can't just
on
rely on reviews for ticket sales. I did have one company, I think I mentioned it last week, approached me and said, "Oh, we kindly invite you to our show to help us with our ticket sales," and leaving the stresses we have as a midday show. And I was like, "Why? I'm not part of your team. Why are you making this my
We
problem?"
go into that in a lot more detail. I've shared the link now in our introduction to marketing episode, and then we've got follow-up episodes from that specifically about social media, specifically about contacting reviewers, and then about flyering and the like. And it's just to work out what, if your objective is to get people into your seats, think about what you actually need to do to get them in, and reviews isn't necessarily the be-all and end-all to that. It's a part of it, but there's no one thing that...
There's lots
no
of other
magic.
factors.
I would say reviews is much more of an onward career, onward life of the show thing than actually getting bums on seats.
Speaking of onward life of the show,
can I ask one question before that? Because Amy was talking about ticket reports, and I've seen a lot of chat about this in performer groups and on social media. What's your view on ticket reports and checking in on them? And talk about your well-being, because some people want to go in every day, and
I think that can be a really overwhelming thing to do. And I think actually, given the word of mouth and last-minute nature of the Fringe, a lot of people will buy tickets on the door for your show, 5 minutes before it starts. So checking your ticket reviews every single day and seeing that for most of your shows, you might have only sold 5 tickets and you have no industry or press tickets booked. It can be really depleting to your energy and to your well-being. I think check your ticket reports maybe daily, but don't check them every hour. And even, I think check them once or twice a week is probably better, or maybe, just once a week. But again, if you are checking them every day, it obviously can help you push with your flyering and knowing how much you need to sell for that day. I think they're a really useful tool, but they can also be quite difficult if you're not selling that much, and if you are worried about your sales, they can just end up, as I said, being quite difficult for your well-being and for your own energy.
It's about avoiding getting fixated on one thing, like ticket reports, or getting a response from a journalist. Don't get fixated on that one.
I may have been that person that did hourly checks, and you're right. It does.
It's bad.
It does you do get a little bit obsessive with it, and
especially with the last. We can't emphasize how last minute most tickets.
Yeah, and especially it's so because it's so easy. Like, if you've not got them, the primary contact of the show should have got a link from box office reports at edfringe.com, and it generally so you can check them at any point. And you're right, it can be because they will stagnate at times, they will like go up and down kind of thing. I mean, it is quite exciting when you see one sold and you're like, hang on, I've checked with all of my friends and family, no one's booked. This is a stranger. Like, it's genuinely a lovely moment, and it's quite good sometimes if you're planning ahead what you need to do. And I'd also say it's sometimes really good for keeping a check on how your flyering and general word of mouth is doing, because if you're like, okay, we're sitting on 10 pre-sales today, but then you're like, oh, we got like 30 people in, that is a good day. Really good. You're suddenly like, okay, we're getting a lot of people like walking up, and if you do that, to kind of contradict what people say, I would say doing that early on kind of lets you see what we're saying about ticket sales being so last minute. It kind of gets you a bit more comfortable, because you're like, oh, we had this at the start of the day, we ended up with this. That's pretty good. Cool, and you can kind of work out what to expect. Yeah. I
would also say keep an eye on your concession codes on your ticket sales. If anyone from the arts industry has booked a ticket to your show, they will come under an FY concession, and if anyone from the media books a ticket, it's PR. Yes, is the code. Right,
and do you know why it's FY? I've always wondered.
I don't have a clue. I have no idea. It was here before I was in post. But yeah, it's essentially if you have somebody from those from either of those concessions that have been allocated tickets to your shows, those have come out of your complimentary ticketing allocation that you've given to the Fringe Society to give to the media and and the industry. You most likely would have allocated to, because I think that's the what is the word? The default. Thank you.
It defaults to 4 to media and 2 to arts industry.
Right, and so they are the ones that you've allocated to us to be able to give out as complimentary ticketing to the media and to the industry. And then you are entitled to, if you have any PR concessions, you can email media@edfringe, or if you've any FY concessions, you can email artsindustry@edfringe.com, and you can get those the names and email addresses of those people that have booked those complimentary tickets to your shows, and then you can follow up with them afterwards, which I would say is advisable, certainly for industry. I'm not sure what Amy thinks about media, but if an industry member has booked a ticket to your show, I would recommend emailing them after the show and seeing what they thought of it, and seeing if they'd like to have a discussion about opportunities.
Speaking as a journalist, it's always nice to get a thank you.
Yeah,
I was going to say thank you. I think people underestimate a thank you.
I've been reviewing for 10 years, and I have maybe 5 thank yous in my life.
And the odds of then, because for many people they're not just doing 1 year at the Fringe. The long-term impact of that.
Yeah.
Of being,
they were really polite, they were really lovely to deal with, they sorted out a last-minute ticket, they couldn't have been more helpful. I might see them
I'm stealing a top tip, but at the end. But I think if you take one thing away from today, it's just be nice to people you're interacting with. Because it's
say thank you.
Hugely. I think it's one of the things that we emphasise so much in every one of our Fringe casts.
And don't just say thank you because you're like, I've got a 5-star review. If they give you a 3-star review, that's just as much work has gone into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I apologise in advance, Katie. You've got one more bit on
that's
marketing.
That's all right. No, please go ahead.
We go first in marketing.
We're just building up the anticipation.
It's not a one-word answer. Maybe it's a 2-sentence answer for Amy. Media contacts list. How does that work? How do people get it if they haven't already?
If they haven't already, it goes out to the primary media contact for all shows. It's sent out via email, so you need to know who's the primary media contact of your show. If it's you, check your email, and you should have it. If you don't, email media@edfringe.com. We can find out what happened. What we're finding is people who use Gmail for some reason, the media contacts list is being filtered into the promotions or
Yeah.
the updates tab.
Huh.
And that's nothing to do with us. For some reason,
It,
Google
no,
is
it's,
putting
it's
it
my
there.
fault. It's my fault.
It's Daniel's fault. Daniel's
Because
fault.
truthfully, because most of the things we send as the Fringe Society are considered promotional.
Yes.
Because we're
Ah,
telling
I
people to
see.
come
Yeah.
to an arts festival. So sadly, similar messages
Mm-hmm.
get treated the same. Not much we can do about it. Well, there is. We'll try. We'll try and fix that next
Do
year.
better, Daniel.
I
Do
will.
better.
I will try.
Just
You're
do
fired.
better.
Just
Now.
do better. So yeah, you should have it via email. If you don't and you've searched everywhere for it, please send me an email.
Right.
Great.
I think we're done.
Katie,
Professional development.
I'm going to just put up all your bullet points.
Oh, thank you. That would be good because it's been a week. Yes, so I think this is very similar to, Alan touched on this earlier, just looking at your goals and objectives and kind of always reflecting on why you're coming to the Fringe. And a big goal for a lot of people coming to the Fringe is the onward life of your show, is building a network when you're at the Fringe and ensuring that you kind of meet your objectives for touring or finding an agent or finding a producer, etc. So, if you're coming to the Fringe as a means to tick off something on your bucket list or just to get your show seen by a new audience or to get reviews or, just to put on a show at the biggest arts festival in the world, that is completely justifiable and fine and wonderful, and you'll have an amazing festival.
And very much an achievement in itself.
I think so, absolutely. But I also think that if you want to do something with your show after the Fringe, it's really important to start thinking about your goals and objectives for that now. If you want to tour and if you want to find venues that will program your show after the Fringe, we have huge amounts of resource to help you with that. Every year at the Fringe, we accredit, just like the media accredits journalists, we accredit members of the arts industry. That could be anyone from venue and festival programmers to producers to agents to theatre companies to cultural agencies. And everyone in that group is coming to the Fringe to find artists, to find new work, to help artists with their professional development and to offer them opportunities for beyond the Fringe. So what we do that's the arts industry office, and then on the flip side of that we have the artist development team. So we help artists to build their goals and objectives and to build strategies to achieve them. So we can find out as much information as possible about you, about your show, about what you want from the Fringe, and then we can help you to contact the people from the arts industry. So that list of over 1,000 people, we help you to identify who on that might be relevant. We help you to kind of understand how your show might fit into the landscape of touring, be it within the UK, internationally. If you're looking for a producer, we can help you do that. So the first thing to do, if that's something that you're looking for, and a lot of people up until this point have been very much focused on their marketing and on getting reviewers in and getting audiences in and ensuring that their time at the Fringe is successful and that it's you're getting a lot of people in to see your show. So if it is that you want to get industry into your show, the first thing you should do is contact us on artistadvice@edfringe.com, and you should probably at this point ask for a prep sheet. So what the prep sheet is it's I think maybe 2 or 3 pages where we ask you as many questions as we can that more often than not somebody from the industry will want to know. And we kind of tease out, what your show is about, what are the themes and genres within, what your goals are, where you want to go after the Fringe. And from that, with that information, we can use that list of industry contacts and filter it down to make it very specific to your show. And it's similar to what Amy was talking about in contacting them. So once you have that list or once you have that information and the kind of advice that we can give you around that, it's really important to start contacting people. And, it's certainly not too late to do that at this point. I'm not going to go into huge amounts of detail on it because we do have Fringe cast that we did a few weeks ago on the same topic, which I believe Daniel will pop into the comment section shortly.
Why not?
Why not? Thanks, Daniel. So yeah, it's very similar to contacting the media. It is the same as, being kind, being generous, being professional, doing your research. That list that you'll get is huge, and there's a huge amount of information in there on what the person wants, what they're looking for at the Fringe, if they're programming a venue, what their programming remit is, what themes and genres they're looking for, what they've programmed in the past. and finding out who that person is and doing your research and sending them a personalized email. If you get that list of 200 people, let's say, maybe only 20 people on that list are right for you. So doing that research and finding out who they are and making a very direct, personable approach. Go ahead.
20 personal emails are so much better than one indistinct.
Please, never blanket email.
Yeah. If we could end one thing, could it be Dear Sirs?
I got an email to my all-female team 2 days ago saying, Dear Sirs. If you don't know the name or the gender of the person that you're emailing, all you have to do is say hi there or good afternoon. Do not say Dear Sirs or Dear Sir and Madam.
Or if you know their surname, don't assume their marital status. Because I get a lot of people like, Dear Mrs. Taylor, and I'm like, well, that's my mum.
I'll be sure to pass this along.
Here you go, mum.
Do you know something? I guess this is a little plug for you, your team, Katie. But generally, one thing I think about the prep sheet that's really good, because sometimes if you're like really excited and just want to be getting on, and then you find you've got to fill in this sheet, you think of like, oh god, this is just a stumble. It's actually the prep sheet is really good for figuring out stuff in your head. So as much as it's for the team to be able to advise you, and then obviously for like industry to have that information, it's actually really good from an artist point of view to fill that in and be like, what are our goals? Like, oh, what kind of venues are we looking for? Like, how tourable is our show? Kind of.
Yeah, we always say that the prep sheet serves two functions. You know, it gives us all of the information we need to give you the best advice about your show, but it also gets your thoughts on paper about what your show is and what you want from it, because you know what your show is, and you've probably worked on your elevator pitch for the media, but pitching to the industry is that slight difference, because you're not trying to get them into your show to review it. You're trying to get them into your show to program it, to give you opportunities for the life beyond the Fringe. And if you get that information on paper, you get a little bit about your touring availability, where you want to be, what your technical kind of specs are. It's really good to start thinking about that, because then once you've written it down on paper, if you do have a conversation with a programmer or a producer or an agent, whoever, if they ask you one of these questions that's in the prep sheet, you will already have written it down. You'll already have thought about it. And if you put as much detail on paper as you can, then it'll be easier to speak about it when you have those conversations with the industry.
I think it links back. I think it was on your slide, Daniel, was the first point, narrow your focus.
Yeah.
If I made that. Narrow your focus, I think, is generally a really good bit of advice for everything you do at the Fringe.
Yeah.
Because it is huge and massive and can be overwhelming. And actually you want to be like, what am I trying to get out of this?
Yeah, and you won't achieve everything.
Totally, and don't feel you should.
And the thing with the industry is that if you come to us and you say, well, I want to tour everywhere in the world, and I want a producer to bring me on tour everywhere in the world, and I want an agent, it's a lot. You're asking for a lot, and you won't have the time to focus in on any of these specific objectives. So pick one. And this year, if it's your first year at the Fringe, speak to people. You might not get touring opportunities. We always say it's a long game. Year one is about meeting people for the first time, solidifying your reputation, talking to people, getting out there, building connections. Year two, you might get them in to see your show. You might get them familiar with your work. Year three, you might get them kind of talking about what they can do and what they can offer you with your shows. So it's very much a long game, and you might not get anything for 3 years.
So I'm going to thank Jill for her patience, because she asked a question.
Sorry, Jill.
At 2 minutes past 10, related to this.
Jill.
She's asked, I just want to know exactly what should be included in a tour pack. I don't have recorded footage, but I could get it. Do I need to add costs? Do I need to do all these extra things?
No, not at all. So I think the best thing for you to do, Jill, is to email us at artistadvice@edfringe.com and request a tour pack template and sample. We have a template of all of the things that you should have in your tour pack. A lot of them are just, some high quality images would be really good. You don't necessarily have to have video footage. That can be a bonus, but I would say if you don't have high quality footage, don't include footage at all. I would say that people want to see the piece in a theatre setting, and if you don't have that, then it can be more detrimental to include it. I would say high quality images, some information about the show, how it was created, some information on your company. I would say, technical specifications on what you need if you are touring, your touring availability, anywhere you've toured to in the past. If you have reviews, include them, even if you have audience quotes or quotes from reviews that are quite positive, that can be very good to include. I think one of the things that's quite important about tour packs is to make them quite visually appealing. Don't make them just words on a page like a press release, because people want to be able to imagine, programmers and arts industry professionals are, a lot of their work is quite visual. They're out here to see work. They're out here to program their venues. They want to be able to imagine your show in their venues. So I would say making it quite visual is important. But yeah, do get in touch with us and we'll be able to send you some resources on those.
Did Jill say include costs?
Oh yeah, the cost thing.
I only said
Thanks
that
for
because
remembering
that's something I learned from the arts industry office.
Yeah, so I would say know how much your show costs per night to put on in a venue, but I wouldn't include that in a tour pack, because then it reduces your ability to negotiate that cost with the venue. If you put in your show cost, let's say it's £500, and then somebody from a really big venue that has a lot of funding, who could probably have offered you a bit more money, knows that it's £500, that's all you're going to get. So I would say know your cost, but don't put it in your tour pack, because then if somebody sees that as well on the flip side, and they're from a venue that maybe can't afford that per night, they won't approach you because they'll assume they can't afford you. But there might be some negotiation in there that you can get into if they offer you slightly less money, and then you can bulk it up by offering workshops or other engagements with audience members.
Looking at the time, one of the points there is on the Fringe Events programme, which we're actually going to talk about. That's how we wrap this bad boy up. So
you've never said that before.
Yeah, no.
And the last point as well, if people have read that, it's quite clear. But I think joining the Edinburgh Festival Fringe 2019 Artists Facebook group can be a really, really great place to learn more and engage in peer learning and meet fellow artists. So I'll wrap up and we can move on.
And just on that group, quickly, we ask you a few questions when you join it. Just to ascertain you are a Fringe performer. And the other thing we try and flag is that this is a group to share opportunities and ask questions. It's not really a place just to say, come see my show.
Yeah.
Because there's 4,000 plus shows coming. And if the group was just that, it would be pointless.
Totally.
Yeah,
and do you know
it's just like looking at the Fringe programme then.
Yeah, and do you know what? You could have a really well-intentioned post, which is actually just trying to reach out, but appears as a plug. And actually, if we allow that, it then is like opening the floodgates to everyone doing it, and suddenly you have 4,000.
We don't enjoy deleting posts, so it's easier if you're not posting a show in the first place.
Yeah.
Because we're not evil. We just want the group to be tidy.
A few of us aren't evil. We'll see.
So we can jump through this fairly quickly, I think. Some people may already, when you're listening to this, probably will be in Edinburgh.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and do you know what? We just wanted to have a quick moment to be like, do you know what? When you arrive, Edinburgh can be a bit of a culture shock. Even if you've lived in Edinburgh year-round, and suddenly August is a different place.
City.
A high level of busyness, also lots of things to do. It's like lots of shiny things for magpies that just attract your attention. Yeah. You're like, I want to do everything. I think it's really important, especially if you've got the luxury of being here maybe like a day or two before your run starts. Maybe you're like doing a tech and things. Giving yourself like just time to get your bearings, check in with your venue, which is really important. It's like one of your homes away from home when you're in August, and just generally just pace yourself. Like if you're doing the full run, we always say it's a marathon, not a sprint. You've got a long way to go, so actually just give yourself just time to bed into the city in August. Learn the best ways to your venue. Start to pick up like where passing trade is and where the flow of pedestrians is, because that will massively help in your flying. Just that kind of get a feel for the city and do that kind of at your own pace in a way that's just kind of like, do you know what? It's about to be quite a hectic month, so if you can take that breath.
Where's one of the first places we recommend people should go?
Oh, such a smooth link.
Thanks, Daniel. My favourite. Fringe Central. Which
it's not always, we always clarify this, it's not always that.
Next year, I'll use a different photo. I'll take a photo this summer.
That is a
that's
picture
better.
of the Arts Industry Networking Brunches, which are on the 2nd and 3rd Saturday of the month, and a really good place for you to network with members of the industry. You'll see they're all wearing blue lanyards in this. I would say get to those. They're first come, first served, and they're in Fringe Central, so do come along. But yes, Fringe Central is, as Alan just said, your venue is one of your homes away from home during August. Fringe Central is up there as another home away from home, and it's a really good place to meet people. It's a really good place to engage with the industry and the media, and it's where all of our teams are based during the Fringe.
Except me, because I'm in the box giving recommendations.
Yes. Daniel is in the inspiration machine, so he unfortunately won't be joining us in Fringe Central this year.
Inspiration machine like, hi Daniel.
Fringe Central, it's a good place to hang out between shows. There's a load of couches and beanbags and a cafe, but there's also lots of admin facilities, so you can get login to computers. There's free Wi-Fi, there's photocopying, staplers to
Pop
staple
the link
things
in.
to your
There's more facilities than
lots
we could
of stuff.
possibly remember.
But one of the things is the Fringe Central program, which is a really exciting kind of program of professional development events, which kicks off with the welcome address.
Oh, seamless
on the
again.
2nd. So the 2nd of August at 6 p.m, we'll have the welcome address. The welcome address is a really, really fun and kind of inspiring event. There's always somebody quite well known in the arts world giving that speech. In last year, you'll see from the screen, it was Deborah Francis White of The Guilty Feminist. And this year, we just announced yesterday, we'll have Sheila Atim, who is an Olivier Award-winning actress and is debuting her first written play at the Fringe this year. So we're really, really excited to have Sheila.
I did a fanboy tweet about it.
Oh my
yesterday.
God, I know. I'm excited to have her.
I put my program
She's
from
so
Girl
great.
from the North Country, and I'm like, hi Sheila.
She's amazing. And this year we've changed the event so that it's going to be in the evening, and we'll also be offering a drink to everyone that shows up, so that once the speech is over, we'll have some networking. There'll be some industry and media there, and all of the kind of first time artists and people that are coming to the Fringe. It's the first day that
we'll be there too.
Starts.
So
we'll be there.
See us in real life.
Yeah.
I would also
goodness.
genuinely say that the definitely the past 2 years, the welcome address has been one of my favourite things that happened in Fringe Central. I had a little tear in my eye the last 2 years.
Oh,
just
it's
because
been excellent.
It's an artist talking about what the Fringe is and can be, and it's inevitably quite inspiring. Like Panty Bliss 2 years ago, it just had me genuinely quite shook. I was just like, this is a really important thing. In the world we live in now, the largest place in the world for freedom of expression is really important, and hearing someone talk about that and being a part of that and in the room where it happens, is a really good.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it this year, and it's going to be out on the concourse, so it's a little bit more open. We'll have drinks, we'll have snacks, we'll have Sheila Atim, we'll have us guys, so please do pop along. Again, it's first come, first served, there's no ticketing, so we're looking forward to seeing you there. And Amy, you have another exciting event the next day.
I do. If you come along the next day to meet the media, you can meet both me and Alan, who are not the media.
A festival. I like to think of it as a festival of queuing.
Yes, it is the world's best festival of queuing. It's essentially like speed dating with a journalist. You queue up and you can sit and do a 30-second pitch to a journalist, tell them about your show, give them your flyer, chat to them a little bit. I think we're going to confirm the publications very, very soon. We can't confirm which journalists are coming.
How will people find out about those?
Oh, that's a really good question that I can't quite remember the answer to.
Daniel will email
Daniel will email you. There we go.
Not
Yay.
Daniel personally. You won't get it from Daniel's personal email address.
I've got a long week ahead of me, one by one. And on that, I'm going to do a plug while trying to find the link. We email registered contacts for shows. We've got primary contact, secondary contact, and immediate contact. But we don't just want to keep it amongst that small group. So if you have members of your performing company, or indeed yourself, if you're not on that list, I will share a link to how you can sign up for those artist-focused email updates. And when you sign up, you can say your interests and preferences, because with more than 100 different events at Fringe Central, I'm not going to email them all to you, but if you show what your preferences are, we can send you tailored updates, just giving you a nudge about when those free awesome professional development events are coming up.
Yeah, and we'll also be posting about them in the artist Facebook group, so just keep an eye for your daily roundup on there. All of the events in the Fringe Central programme are completely free, so I think they're a really good place.
I have a media question.
Yes.
Just go and meet the media. I held back.
Great.
Laura asks, or thinks, she says, I didn't set aside complimentary tickets for media. I didn't realise I needed to. Is it too late to do this?
No, it's not too late. If you send an email to boxedit@edfringe.com, they'll be able to help you with press comps.
Daniel is looking concerned at Alan.
Also, I would add. So even if you've done, so if you were worried that someone might have been turned away because it's zero allocation, the media office, we would never turn anyone away. What we'd do is we'd be like, oh, there isn't an allocation of tickets available for that show at the moment, but here's the media contact, and we'd send them to you directly or to your venue.
We'll never just send them away empty-handed.
My kind of other thing, just while that media slide's still up, media can be a really tough, busy day. Wear comfortable shoes. One of the things is have a plan for media. Like, don't be like, I'm going to speak to everyone, because not everyone there will be relevant for you. I would generally say if there's
Pick
two,
maybe
three people that you're like, do you know what? I'm going to have those people that I'm going to like pitch to live in the room. That can be like a really great impact. So you're far better, when we say this kind of thing all the time, you're far better speaking to 3 people in a really targeted way
than everyone in a non-targeted way.
And know if people are reviewing specific genres, that is the only genre they're looking for. I was helping with a queue of a comedy reviewer last year, and I had a lot of artists that were doing theatre, but, you know, with comedic elements, come up to the queue and try to get in it. But, you know, that person was just looking for the primary genre of comedy. They weren't looking for comedic theatre. So, you know, if you are queuing for somebody that's completely irrelevant to your show, you're not going to get anywhere with that. So I would say be very clear on what your show is and what cues are right for you and what reviewers are going to be interested.
Totally. I think there's a danger of being like, I'll speak to anyone. I want anyone to see my show. I'm looking for reviews.
And you're just wasting time.
And energy, which is really
it's like
important.
with the media contact list, like don't just email everyone on it, because not everyone on it will be relevant to your work.
For sure.
This is a quick slide.
Yeah, so we've spoken about the Fringe Central Events program. It's a really great program of events. There's over 100 in there. I think the most important thing about the Fringe Central Events program is not just that it deals with your professional development and kind of learning new things, learning new skills, and being involved in discussions and debates, but people go to these events. People from the industry go to these events. Your fellow artists will go to these events. It's a really, really great place to find your community and build that network that you're looking for at the Fringe. So ensuring that you're getting to these events, and you know, you can book into them if you like in advance, but there will always be tickets available on the door, and a lot of them are unticketed. Even the ones that are ticketed are completely free. So, you know,
and there's always tickets.
There's always tickets on the door, and we've made sure that there, you know, even if it looks like it's sold out online, there will always be allocation available at the venues. So just make sure to come along, and, you know, if you've an hour or two to kill between your show, you know, you can come and eat your lunch in a Fringe Central event, and, you know, even if you're running late, most of them you can come in at any time and just rock up late. So make sure, and there's a huge section in there on well-being and taking care of yourself at the Fringe, and that's probably my kind of biggest
I was going to say, I know we're at the hour, but do we have time to quickly, like while we're waiting for any final questions to come in, do we have time to each pick our event that we'd plug?
Very quickly, yes.
So go,
Daniel's
Katie.
raging. I think mine is obviously the Fringe Central Welcome Address, but we've already covered that, so I'm going to take a second. I really like the Sanctuary, which is, it happens 5 times across the Fringe. It is a room that is dimly lit, has a nice oil diffuser and some soft music and beanbags, and you literally just go in there. It's on all day for the 5 times that it's on across the Fringe, and you just go in there and you relax between your show, and you just get away from the craziness of August. There's also there's 15-minute massages available for free that you can sign up for that morning and come back later to take your slot. I had one last year. It was the best day at Fringe Central, so make sure to sign up for those on the day. Amy.
Oh, right. Well, there's always 2 I recommend, so I'll pick one. If it is your first time at the Fringe, we have an event called First Time at the Fringe, which is a great way to meet other first-timers and just find a community, as Katie was saying, and ask any questions that you just can't find an answer for online, because other people will be asking those exact same questions.
For sure.
Mine is Going Solo Together. So anyone who is doing a one-person show, I think the Fringe can sometimes feel quite isolating and quite pressured, because you're doing all of this solo. So Going Solo Together is pretty much an ideal opportunity to meet other people who are going solo. So whether that's like, well, one, just getting peer support, but also two, it could be like, oh, you're sharing flying with each other, because as a solo show, you might need to prepare for your show and you can't be out there like an hour before sort of flying. So it's just a really good way to connect with other people who are experiencing the same thing as you are, and it's always really useful. I always get such good feedback from people that go.
Great.
And mine would be, unsurprisingly, it's the event called How to Get Your Show Noticed. It runs 8 times during August. Pretty much we run them twice in a day most of the time, so whatever your show is, you can make one of them. And it's kind of an informal way to talk about how you're promoting your show, how you're getting people to come and see it. We have various members of the marketing and development team covering a range of topics, such as Amy will be talking about getting reviewers, I'll be talking about social media.
I'll just be generally talking.
Alan will just be talking, his speciality, and there's various other ways to get people to come to your show. You can drop in, we'll give you some quick intros, we'll have some breakout sessions.
That's great.
It's worth coming in week 1 just to get a sense of what to do, but if later on you're not quite sure how things are working, you want to change something up, we'll be here for you to come in, have a chat, and we'll help.
Great.
Already had that in the live chat ready to go.
Just ready.
He was typing frantically over there. I just wondered.
Daniel is intently typing.
Daniel's responding to emails.
So we're nearly done. There's 2 things I wanted to share from the live chat. Laura asked, well, she said, I've missed a bit of the session. When will it be available to listen again? The answer is immediately after we're finished. It'll be on this page. Once we hit stop, for the last time this series, it will be there. Refresh the page, and you can listen back and catch up what you missed. I've got one other thing. I'm going to save it. I'm going to tell you when. It's not a question. It's a statement.
Oh, right. Okay.
So before then, how do people get in touch with us if they don't know already? They probably have got in touch with us in order to have tuned in the first place.
Fair point.
If not, all of the things on screen.
Yeah, which if you're just listening and for some reason not looking, that's like our Facebook, our Twitter, the Take Part section of the edfringe.com website. And then we've mentioned a whole bunch of emails today, but artist advice at edfringe.com, media advice at edfringe.com, and participants at edfringe.com. All lead to people who can help.
Yes. What is missing up there is our Instagram. We have Fringe Central Instagram as well, which is a really good place to keep up to date on kind of what's happening at Fringe Central, on the events that we have, on any panellists that we're announcing as well. So get on that too. I'm trying to increase our followers.
That's just at Fringe Central.
At Fringe Central on Instagram.
Also, you're going to get a link to a survey after this?
Yes.
Is that true, Dan? I said it perfectly
Go more high pitch, please.
But generally, that it's basically like we said, this is the last one of the series, but we're already planning the 2020 series.
We get another. We've got season 2. We've been recommissioned.
Starting as early as late September, subject to change. So actually, but these are very much for artists.
Yes.
So at whatever point, if you've signed up for this, you will get a link sent to you.
If not, I've put it in the live chat.
Cool.
Particularly if you didn't sign up and you've just stumbled across this
That's
on
why
YouTube
I paused.
or
I
a
was
website.
like, would someone be able to fill it in?
That survey is still valid, even if you listen to this in 2 weeks' time. It's still incredibly helpful. We do read them all, and in that you also have the ability to throw questions at us if you haven't had the chance to reach us. We would recommend meeting us face to face or emailing us through the main routes at this point, because we may not be checking that survey every day, like a ticket
I think we said Fringe Central opens on
Monday.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
10
That's
o'clock
so
in the morning.
And it's open every day from 10 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
and it's just off George Square on the corner between Chapel Street and Windmill Street.
Well done.
So that's-
EH89LE.
That's good. So that's it for today. I wanted to share a message from the Fearless Players who just simply said, you guys are reducing my stress levels by the minute.
Yay!
Thank you. So
we're doing our job.
hopefully
If
this...
you've listened,
you.
this has been a long session. If
Sorry.
we've reduced it by the minute.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's a lot of
stress
minutes.
less. Yeah.
Sorry for overrunning slightly, but it's the morning. We went at a
It's the
different pace.
humidity.
Yes.
It's the last. It's a weird. It's like it's the end of term, but also school's about to begin.
Yeah.
Summer school.
And to be a little bit cheesy for a second, because it's my brand, genuinely, like, if you've listened today, but if you've listened to any or all of this series, genuinely, thank you so much.
Yes,
this is
thank
still
you.
quite a
Thank
new
you.
thing for us. And getting feedback like that this is helpful on the other side, because sometimes we just feel like we're just talking to each other in a
into the
room.
ether.
So generally, any feedback or direction for series 2 is really appreciated, and thank you I hope you found them helpful.
And if you do, tell someone else. That's what you should do at the end of
It's
a
our
show.
bucket speech.
It's the bucket speech. Pass it on to fellow artists, whether they're in your show or another show. There's 14 episodes of Fringe Cast, ranging from how to find a venue, which may be less useful now, but up to...
14 in the next week. You could get through them easily.
Yeah,
if you can binge watch a Netflix series, you know, you can get through the Fringe Cast.
We're basically Stranger Things.
And there's practical, there's things like marketing, etc. But we also have other topics such as well-being at the Fringe and parenting in the performing arts and kickstarting and crowdfunding. There's all kinds of topics we've covered. So listen back, and hopefully, if you're coming back in 2020, tune into season 2 of Fringe Casts, which is set to be very exciting.
Yeah, I never ask for this, but should we turn the webcam on to say bye?
Oh, Alan.
But the humidity.
You can do it before
Sound like a woman in
and
Tennessee
before and
Williams,
after, and you can see how much more red we are.
Yeah, thanks for listening, and
Thank you.
bye. Have a great Fringe, and come and say
We'll
hello.
see you in Fringe Central. We're all there all the time,
All
except
the
for
time.
Daniel, who's in.
I'll be in my
with us.
box.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in
if you
his
go to the
box.
inspiration machine, just whisper Daniel gently to the side.
He appreciates it.
Yeah.
And a big thank you
This
to
got
Daniel
weird.
for doing all this and also being a good sport. Yay.
Thanks, Daniel.
Now get back in the
We
box.
didn't get
Get
out,
in the
so
box.
that's good.
I think
It
it worked. Maybe someone was listening. Who knows?
Oh, well, the fearless players were listening.
Yes,
they
they
were.
were.
In short, bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.